The inn at the edge of the forest. In the far north, where maps curl at the edges and compasses spin without warning, there is a forest no one dares to name. Not because it is wicked, not because it is haunted, but because it simply does not want to be known. Trees there grow taller than cathedrals, bark patterned like starlight, branches that whisper to each other in a language older than frost. It is a place of forgetting, of quiet, of dreams that change shape when no one is watching. But just before the forest begins, where the moss thickens and the world seems to exhale, there is an inn. No sign, no road, no advertisements in travel guides, but those who need it always seem to find it. The inn has 3 floors, 12 rooms, and one ancient copper bell above the door that never rings the same way twice. The windows glow with soft amber light, even in summer. And the woman who runs it is always awake. Her name is Mareed. She has hair like riverstone and eyes like a thunderstorm paused mid-roll. She doesn't speak much, but when she does, her voice sounds like warmth wrapped in wool. She takes no payment, only stories. Now our tale begins with a traveler named Silas. He carried no map, no luggage, and no memory of where he came from, only a worn red notebook and a compass that pointed sideways more often than north. The night he arrived, the inn door opened before he could knock. Mered was already waiting. "You'll want room 5, she said. Silas blinked. "I didn't." She turned, already walking. "It's ready." Room 5 was small. A low bed, a single window, a desk with no chair, and a quilt that smelled of cedar and lavender. On the nightstand sat a cup of tea, still steaming. Silas drank it and dreamed of a tree that bent down and whispered his name. In the morning, he did not leave, nor the next. He swept the steps, helped Mered chop wood, read the books in the sitting room that rearranged their pages depending on his mood. The guests came and went, strange as comets. A woman who spoke to mirrors, a boy with feathers instead of hair, a man who aged backward, sighing in delight each morning when he found another wrinkle gone. Silas asked no questions, and Mered offered no answers. Until one evening, while repairing a broken lantern near the woods, Silas heard something. A song. No melody he knew, but it pulled at something inside him, like a string tied to his ribs. He followed it. Not into the forest, he wasn't foolish, but to the edge, where the trees began to blur, as though reality thinned there. He saw a girl, sitting on a stone, barefoot, braiding ivy into her hair. She looked at him and smiled. "You're late," she said. Silas opened his mouth, but she was gone. Back at the inn, he told Mairead, "I thought you didn't take stories," she said, pouring tea. "I don't," he said, but she spoke like I'd forgotten one. Mairead looked at him for a long time, then nodded. "Then it's time you remembered." That night, Silas opened the red notebook. He hadn't dared before. Something about it had always felt sealed. But now the pages fluttered open. On the first page, a drawing of the girl. Beneath it, 2 words: "Wait here." The notebook was full, not of words, but of drawings, sketches of things he didn't recall seeing, but that stirred recognition in his chest. A stone bridge with no river beneath it. A lantern that flickered with 2 flames at once. A door carved into the trunk of a tree, glowing from within. And always, always, her. Sometimes laughing, sometimes waiting, always near the forest. Mered said nothing when he showed her. She just handed him a silver key and said, "Try room 12." Room 12 was at the top of the inn, behind a door no guest had ever used. Inside was a room much larger than the outside suggested. Sky blue walls, a globe that spun itself, a window that showed not the woods outside, but a starfield. And in the center, a table. Upon it, a map, not of the world, but of the inn, its past, its future, its alternate selves. Lines shimmered and moved as Silas leaned closer. And there, just beyond the 3rd floor, was another space, labeled simply the remembering room. He turned to leave, but the door was gone. In its place stood Mered. "This inn sits at a crossroads," she said, "for wanderers, for wayfarers, for those on the edge of something. I don't understand." She nodded toward the map. "You left something behind in the woods. A story, a vow, a piece of yourself." Silas clenched his fists. "Why?" "Because it was too heavy to carry, but it's calling you back." He looked down, and the map changed. Now it showed a path from room 12 through the attic into the roots of the forest and beyond. "Follow it," Mered said. "You may not come back the same, but you'll come back whole." Silas took the map, took a breath, and stepped through the wall, which melted like mist. The forest accepted him. It shifted, groaned, closed behind him. "We won't follow him too far, love. Some journeys are meant to be taken in quiet. But we will say this: he found the girl. She was real. He had once promised her he'd return. And in doing so, they had created the inn, together, long ago, as a place for lost people to find their way back to themselves. He had only forgotten. Now he remembered. And when he returned, seasons later, the forest bowed to let him pass. Mered was gone, and the inn was his. A new bell over the door, a new room key waiting for the next guest. And in room 5, a warm cup of tea, still steaming. The end.